Hello, this is Tammy Pie, and I am here playing with some thirst trap decks to kind of assuage my hunger for some other thirst trap decks. So this is the Shimmering Veil. And for a long time I had myself convinced that I did not need this deck. It was cool, but it comes from England, and when things come from a foreign country nowadays, you gotta pay this extra bit of shipping, which I was really aggravated by. I didn't want to pay extra shipping for anything. And in the end, I ended up trading for it, which means I didn't pay the shipping. However, I ended up not getting the guidebook, which is fine because I can see what the cards are. I can figure it out, and really this deck is kind of magical in that way. It is one of those decks that just kind of speaks to your brain, so I'm pretty happy to have it, and I almost wish I'd gotten it earlier, but I still have a lot more work to do with that deck. This is the Henry deck, which I was playing around with this morning. And it's nice and juicy and colorful. And that's helpful. These were my cards from this morning. That's helpful because it reminds me that I already have a lot of beautiful, beautiful decks. I really don't have to invest heavily in things that I don't have the money for right now. Especially when I have these really cool, like strange and unusual decks that deserve a lot of attention. This one is double-sided, so every front and back is different. And if you know the story to it, which is of a sick young boy who lives in his room and he sees all these things out his window, then it becomes like this really interesting, different way to read, which I enjoy immensely. That's the Henry deck, and I don't believe this is available yet, but you never know. Colin might release it. And I showed this when I was on Simon's Catching Up With the other day. But this is very much kind of a summer, and in particular a June deck, because of all the rainbows. Because it's Pride Month. So these juicy, rainbowy, delicious colors and this was a very expensive deck. This was something I got for a birthday or some kind of celebration where somebody gave me some money and I told myself, all right, if I don't get it now, I'll never get it. which is true. I might not have ever paid the extra money, but I did. And I really, really love this deck. And it deserves a lot of attention. This is Oliver Hibert's deck. And it's full of eyeballs and melty things. And the cards have all these little extra weird things like flying eyeball bats. Here at the bottom here, there's just like a little blob with an eyeball. Anyway, headless creatures. So this one helps. This one helps a lot. Here's another thirst trap deck, because for a long time I was very close to paying out of print prices for the Sakki-Sakki. And eventually I didn't have to pay out of print prices because she came out with I Am the Artist Tarot. She posted this the other day. The Hanged One. And this is really beautiful and unusual and colorful. And although it's RWS, it's very artsy RWS. I like the human but not human figures. Here's one that's just a head and shoes. So the Sakki-Sakki didn't have the heads. But this one has the heads back. Some of these cards were changed a bit. A few cards were added. Many of the cards were not changed. And I am just thrilled to have it. So working with this helps temper the need, the want, the wishes, the hopes for other really cool thirst trap decks. I Am the Artist by Monica Cleo Sakki-Sakki. Here's another one. I'm seeing this more often than we used to. And I think it's because people are realizing that it's out there and how unusual this is. Now, right now I'm starving for the ritual tarot. But this has that feeling of strangeness and ritual. Because these photographs were taken underwater, a lot of the figures are in strange positions. They feel kind of floaty and otherworldly. I think this one's a more romantic tarot. Look at that Wheel of Fortune with the dove. Four of Pentacles. So yeah, this totally helps. I remember thinking about this and thinking, because it's a little expensive. I think it was 85 bucks or something. I got it off Etsy. And I was terrified it was going to go out of print before I could get a copy, but it hasn't. It's, I think, a little bit of manufactured scarcity, which I'm not mad about. you know, people got to make a living. We're trying to sell stuff. So that helps. Helps me not start, you know, buying things with my electric bill money. Because the bills are out there. And mama's got to pay them. All right. So this is the final one I'll show. And this is a Jonasa or Jonasa Jaus. And this, I decided to add this one in because I heard somebody saying they had this edition. I also have the edition, which I think is the 4th edition, which she called the last edition because she wasn't going to print it anymore. And then she ended up doing 3 or 4 more editions. But these sell out. They sell out really quick. And I remember seeing these images and thinking, oh, this is the one. This deck is going to make me so happy. And it does. I really, really enjoy this edition of this deck and what she did with plants and her line work and her unusual take on some of these cards. I really like that one. I have enough Spanish that I can understand Galatian well enough so I don't have a problem with knowing what I'm looking at. And it's kind of a pip deck. Semi-illustrated pip deck, kind of. Yeah. So when you don't have the money and you don't have anything that you want to trade and you just have to buckle down and say no, just remember there's always another deck coming out. It's going to be okay. And you're going to want something else eventually. Thanks for coming.